A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Nayaka. Let's start off with a look at your stories making headlines this evening.
Headline first, brought to you by
It is the government's intention to involve farmers in rice production and not only paddy cultivation. A statement from the President. Prime Minister elaborates on China visit. ₹2.88 trillion spirited away from Sri Lanka in the past decade, staggering revelations by Global Financial Integrity. The international schools of Sri Lanka allege the government has decided to impose taxes on international schools. We are ready for an election at any time. Statement from Minister Lakshman Kiriyalla. Explosion and blaze sparked by fireworks in India's Kerala kills 110 and injures over 350.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that the government is to implement a program to involve paddy farmers in rice production in addition to paddy cultivation. The President made this observation while attending the National Alutsahal Mangalya held in Anuradhapura today.
President Maithripala Sirisena presided over the 49th National Alutsahal Mangalya, which was held at the Sri Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura this morning. Farming communities from several areas of the island attended the traditional function. The maiden harvest from the last season was offered to the sacred Sri Mahabodhiya. A group including Atamasthanaadhipati, Most Venerable Dr. Palligama Sirinivasa Thera, Venerable Athuraliya Ratana Thera and Minister of Agriculture Duminda Disanayaka attended the function. Leader of the indigenous community, Uruvarige Vanilathu, also offered the maiden harvest of the indigenous community at this occasion.
One of the major challenges today is the spread of kidney disease. Around 5,000 new patients are added to the list of patients with kidney disease per year. If we do not find a solution to this problem, if we do not focus on manufacturing toxin-free food suitable for consumption, by the next 10 to 15 years, the entire country would transform into a country suffering from kidney disease. So do we become such an unfortunate country, or do we all work together in determination to do what is required for the country and its people, regardless of the criticism and allegations? Even in relation to the issue of prices for paddy and rice, the government has launched several new programs for the farmers. We intend to turn paddy farmers into the rice producers as well. With this, we hope to minimize the massive profits that intermediaries earn, which causes injustice to the farmers.
This tragedy, which cost the lives of more than 100 people in India, was not a tragedy of their own making. Instead, it was the fault of a number of people caused by negligence and a lack of comprehension. How does Sri Lanka stand in terms of the safe use of fireworks?
Many people who work in the fireworks industry live in the village of Kimbulapitia in Negombo. Those involved in the production of fireworks state that they have given more priority to the security of the people and have been engaging in the industry for a long period of time. The fireworks industry, a gift from China, first commenced in Sri Lanka in 1942. Industrialists note that they lack many facilities in Sri Lanka.
We are still using the old system. We have no labs. There are some flaws in the gunpowder we receive. This is what causes most firework accidents.
An extraordinary Gazette notification number 23/5 of the 13th of February 1979 lays down the rules and regulations for the manufacturing of fireworks under the Explosives Act. However, there is a commonly held view that prohibited fireworks are being manufactured and sold in many places.
Batta and Chinapatas are both prohibited because it is dangerous to use them. But these are sold the most and the demand is very high for them. It is the police that must enforce these rules and regulations. There are laws to stop this and to arrest the perpetrators.
It has also been reported that many manufacturers use prohibited materials in producing fireworks in order to promote their brands.
A certain chemical is used in violation of the law in order to increase the sound of the explosion. It is not appropriate to use it in crackers. It is natural for fires to break out when this chemical is used.
During our visit to Kimbilopitia, it dawned on us that manufacturers in Sri Lanka today lack proper storage facilities and a proper system with regard to new trends in the fireworks industry. At a media briefing held recently, the Sri Lanka Ophthalmologists Association elaborated on the standards of fireworks. In the manufacturing of a firecracker, the length and circumference must be considered. There's a prescribed length for the fuse as well. The number of seconds it takes for the fuse to burn must also be recorded. The paper that is used is also important. There are some varieties which explode upon contact with some materials. This cannot happen. There are rules and regulations for this. There are separate laws when it is being manufactured as a bundle. If these laws are followed, then we can drastically reduce the number of accidents. Think not once but twice during the manufacturing, packaging and storage of fireworks.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe convened a media briefing in Colombo today following the conclusion of his state visit to China.
The China-Sri Lanka talks were very successful. Priority was given to reaching an agreement on our economic strategy for the next 2 decades. If we are to become the hub at the center of the Indian Ocean, the megapolis will be the key city. The Port City project, which was commenced by China's President Xi Jinping in 2014, was initially a matter of reclaiming land from the sea and constructing buildings. It did not have an economic background. We included it in the megapolis limits, which had an economic plan. There were many problems here with regard to law, the environment and ownership. We had to resolve all of this. This was submitted to Parliament and gradually resolved. Necessary legislation was presented, and not only are we moving forward with this, we will turn it into a business and financial district in line with the megapolis plan to make this the hub of the Indian Ocean. The difference is that we have decided to establish the commercial and financial district within the port city that is being built by China.
Journalists raised more questions regarding the port city development.
පොත් සිටි ව්‍යාපෘතිය අදාළව යම්කිසි මුදලක් ගෙවීමට තිබුණා කියලා කියලා තිබුණා. මේ සංචාරයේදී ඒක සමතයකටපත් කරගන්නවා කියලා තිබුණා. ඒ ධනාත්මක පැත්තකට ගිහිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. මුදලක් ගෙවන්නවා කියලා තියෙන ලංකාවේ මාධ්‍ය.
It is the media in Sri Lanka that has said that a sum of money will have to be paid. I saw that our ministers had been asked regarding payments to be made for the Port City project because of a 1-year delay in construction. We looked at the law and submitted that there is no legal basis and that this could be resolved through discussions. There were many shortcomings to resolve here, and one of the major issues was regarding ownership. In truth, what has been given is more valuable than the amount that was asked for. We resolved it through discussion. This was just published in the newspapers. Don't ask me, I'm not the one doing it. Ask the other people what they are paying. Earlier it was agreed that the Sri Lankan government would own part of it and that the Chinese company would own the other part of it. We have changed that and have a policy and have agreed on a 99-year lease for a joint corporation.
The Prime Minister was also questioned on Chinese-funded projects in Hambantota.
We have not looked at it yet, but I think for the Hambantota project is something essential. That means you have the ships, you have the harbours, you have the planes coming into your airport, your ships coming into your harbours, and you have the factories going in the industrial area. China is also quite interested in going ahead. But what we are going to do is shift the emphasis from loans to investments. We have high budget deficit. Our balance of payments is having problems. Something happens in the Middle East, we are going to be in a severe crisis. So we have to diversify our exports. And that may be manufacturing, services, bringing them into Sri Lanka on tourism, on shipping.
The Prime Minister also noted that he had informed former Presidents Chandrika Kumaratunga and Mahinda Rajapaksa prior to his visit to China.
Prior to departure, we informed the party leaders in Parliament. Former Presidents Chandrika Kumaratunga and Mahinda Rajapaksa were both informed. Then we had discussions with President Maithripala Sirisena prior to leaving to China.
Furthermore, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe noted that he appreciates the advice and ideas put forward by the Chinese President and Prime Minister regarding industrialization and economic programs. Tonight on our special segment Panama Papers, we bring out yet another expose made by US-based firm.
In light of the Panama Papers, which revealed the involvement of 3 Sri Lankan corporates and 22 shareholders, attention has now been focused on a report compiled by US-based Global Financial Integrity on illicit financial flows from developing countries from 2004 to 2013. According to this report, Sri Lanka is ranked 53rd of 149 countries for illegal money outflows from the country up to 2013. The report indicates that in the year 2004, Sri Lanka's illegal money outflows stood at $1.4 billion and had increased to $1.7 billion in 2013 on a year-on-year basis. The highest outflow was recorded in the year 2011, 2 years after the war ended, and stood at a staggering $4.6 billion. The cumulative figure during the 10-year time frame stood at $19.96 billion, which amounts to 2.88 trillion Sri Lankan rupees. The report indicates that this includes money illegally earned through corruption, while some illegal transfers are not noted in the balance of payments because of wire transfers by banks and shady money changers. In 2004, the president of the country was Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga. Mahinda Rajapaksa took over the mantle in 2005 and was the head of state until early 2015. Incidentally, he served as the Prime Minister in 2004 as well. Global Financial Integrity's report recommends 1. That governments should establish public registries of verified beneficial ownership information on all legal entities, and all banks should know the true beneficial owners of any account opened in their financial institution. 2. Government authorities should adopt and fully implement all of the Financial Action Task Force's anti-money laundering recommendations. Laws already in place should be strongly enforced. 3. Policymakers should require multinational companies to publicly disclose their revenues, profits, losses, sales, taxes paid, subsidiaries and staff levels on a country-by-country basis. 4. All countries should actively participate in the worldwide movement towards the automatic exchange of tax information as endorsed by the OECD and the G20. 5. Customs agencies should treat trade transactions involving a tax haven with the highest level of scrutiny.
Normally in Sri Lanka, the normal tax rate payable by a company or a individual is 1/3 of the total income. So based on that particular figure, we can safely estimate that it will be around 1/3 of 20 billion is about 6 billion which should have been lost over this period. So when we look at the total amount that has been estimated at 20 billion, 1/3 of that comes to about 6 to 7 billion US dollars. It's a huge amount, and the total GDP of the country is also 74 billion Sri Lanka rupees in US dollars. So in an economy of 74 billion US dollars, if 7 billion has been taken out of Sri Lanka through illegal means, which comes to about 10 to 12% of the total GDP, which is a huge amount. And we can find that why Sri Lanka government is earning only 12% of GDP as its tax revenue.
This government's attitude is flippant at best. It is absolutely shocking that in light of various reports, this government has done absolutely nothing concrete about what has been revealed financially. For example, the offshore leaks was out in 2013, and this government have done nothing about that. We now have the Panama report. There is some detail about Sri Lankan entities and individuals involved in that, and this government has done nothing about that. Now we have a US-based Global Financial Integrity putting out its report, where a staggering 19.9 billion US dollars, or that's 2,888 billion rupees, put it another way, 2.8 trillion rupees, has been spirited out of Sri Lanka illegally.
අපේ පක්ෂයේ අයම ඔය අදත් කියනවානේ මම මහ දුර්වල මිනිහෙක්.
People in our own party are saying today that I'm a weak man, that I cannot get anything done and that I have no skill. They say this about me on the media. So how have I defeated the party? How have I defeated Mahinda Rajapaksa? Understand that there are a number of causes leading to the defeat of a party at an election. Read some old newspapers. A white woman was raped in Tangol and her husband was murdered by a chairman from our party. As the party secretary, I held a disciplinary inquiry against him and I told the UPFA secretary Susil Premajayanta to remove him as it is not good for the government or the party. Upon receiving my letter, as the UPFA secretary, Susil removed him from the position of chairman and removed him from the party. What happened to the two of us, the SLFP and UPFA secretaries? The day after sending the letter, we were summoned and asked on whose authority we sacked the chairman and we were ordered to withdraw the letters immediately. How many local government leaders were caught for rape, theft and murder? How many such incidents can I speak of? I do not have the time to revisit all of them. When a party does not have democracy, freedom and independence, when party members do not have freedom or democracy, when such a party forms a government, will those who work with freedom and democracy for that party have any position? This is my question to you. We must first rebuild the party. If there is anyone speaking of forming a new party, they should realize that those who did so have had no future in the country. In order to rebuild our country, we must understand the burden on the people, the problems of the farmers, the need to build a free society for all the people, the fraternity that must exist between the Sinhalese, Tamil and Muslim people and move forward.
මේවා අපි අවංකව පැහැදිලිව තීරුම් අරගෙන ඉදිරියට යයි.
Speaking in Kandy today, Minister Lakshman Kiriyala said that the government is ready to go in for an election at any given time. Minister Kiriyala made this statement when he called on Mahanayaka of the Yaskiri chapter of the CM sect, Most Venerable Warakaguda Sri Gnanaratna Thera.
ජනවරව තියෙන එක්සත් ජාතික පෙරමුණට ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයට ජනවරවක් නැහැ.
The public mandate is for the United National Front. The SLFP does not have a public mandate. The public mandate was for President Maithripala Sirisena and he contested as a candidate of the United National Front. And in the parliamentary elections, the United National Front won 107 seats. Everyone in the government should remember that. Today, some people speak as if the public mandate was for the SLFP, but neither the SLFP nor the UPFA has a public mandate. The public mandate was for the United National Front. We are ready for an election at any time, be it in the old way or the new.
පරණ ක්‍රමයට හරි අලුත් ක්‍රමයට හරි.
On to another one of our headline-making stories. The International Schools of Sri Lanka, or TISL, charges that the government has decided to charge a 15% tax on international schools in Sri Lanka.
There are approximately 200 private schools operating within the country at present, and close to 300,000 students are educated at these schools. Chairman of the International Schools of Sri Lanka, or TISL, says that the parents would be severely inconvenienced if such a VAT tax is imposed by the government.
The private school community is extremely disturbed about the news that there will be VAT introduced to private education. We need to be aware of the fact that we all are beneficiaries of free education. The fact is, a good section of our society receive free education, free midday meals, free uniforms, free books, which is really great. It has to continue. But on the other hand, the students who enter the private schools, for them paying school fees is a struggle. So on top of that, if you impose a 15% VAT, it's going to be extremely unreasonable where these parents are concerned. We need to be aware of the fact that these are also Sri Lankan children. So my earnest request from His Excellency the President, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister of Finance is to please consider this situation and not to allow this to happen.
International schools are no longer limited to rich children of Colombo 7. Due to the weak education system in the country, the general public have developed a trend of sending their children to international schools. By imposing a tax at a time like this, all parents who have their children in international schools would be economically inconvenienced. Though the government has a need to increase its income, it must focus on other means of generating this income rather than trying to generate it from an important sector like education. In my view, such an attempt is very short-sighted.
Up next is a look at Action TV.
Under the good governance regime, the administration of Mihin Lanka, the controversial airline commenced at great cost to the treasury, has been brought under Sri Lankan Airlines. At present, there appears to be no result following investigations conducted at considerable expense regarding the operations of Mihin Lanka from its inception until the 7th of January 2015. 7 months have now passed since an incident far more serious than the wastage of funds occurred at Mihin Lanka under the good governance regime. The incident over which the Civil Aviation Authority is yet to conduct an investigation concerns this individual. Since this person is duty-bound to follow the rules and regulations established by the International Civil Aviation Organization, there is a possibility that both Mihin Lanka and Sri Lankan Airlines may be restricted to domestic airspace if the Civil Aviation Authority fails to conduct a proper investigation into the incident in question. In 2011, this individual was recruited to Mihin Lanka on a contract basis with 19 years of experience as a pilot under his belt. By this point in time, he had the professional capacity to function as a captain in line with the criteria laid down by the International Civil Aviation Organization. The contract between Mihin Lanka and the captain, reached on the 11th of July 2011, was extended periodically and was due for renewal on the 11th of July 2017. However, on the 11th of September 2015, the management of Mihin Lanka terminated the contract. Initially, the airline maintained that the contract had expired. When this was proved to be false, the airline switched tracks and claimed that his service was no longer required. When this reason too could not be justified, the direct operations at Mihin Lanka revealed the true cause for the termination of the contract. In a sworn affidavit, it was claimed that the captain had committed an act of sabotage. The act of sabotage in question was the decision made by the captain to refuse to fly to Seychelles on the 29th of August 2015. On his last flight to Seychelles, it took great effort on the part of this captain to avert disaster, having been provided with an incorrect weather report by the airline. On the 29th, I reported to the Flight Control Center or the Flight Dispatch of Sri Lankan Airlines as usual. The weather report I received on this day predicted far worse conditions than the previous report. I did not wish to go through a similar experience to my last flight, and it would have also been illegal, so I refused to fly the aircraft in those conditions. Airlines do incur losses in such instances, but airlines give priority to safety and the law in such instances. We are dealing with people's lives. If an incident occurred on this flight, even if it was not caused by the weather, the airline would receive nothing in terms of insurance for violating the law and flying regardless. This is why I said that the previous flight was also illegal due to the incorrect weather report. Are the bigwigs at Mihin Lanka attempting to bring the qualities of chaos and anarchy in ground transport in Sri Lanka to the skies as well? Against this backdrop, can the authorities continue to neglect the investigation that this professional is calling for? Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, over to you.
Leader of the opposition, R. Sambhavan, attended an event in Batiklo yesterday.
President Maithripala Sirisena is eager to resolve the national issue, and I firmly believe that he wants to. The international community also believes that he is taking steps to resolve issues in the country, and they are supporting him in this initiative. The Prime Minister is also of the view that the country needs a permanent solution to the current crisis.
The renovated Crow Island Beach Park was declared open yesterday.
The renovated Crow Island Beach Park in Colombo North consists of many facilities including walking tracks, restaurants and children's parks. The park was declared open at a function attended by Ministers Patali Champika Ranawaka, Ravi Karunanayaka, Manu Ganeshan and Mayor of Colombo AJM Muzammil. This used to be an area for drug peddlers and underworld gang members. That is why this project was initiated by the previous government. We are thankful for this. We are taking further steps to change the environment and social status in the area. In the future, this area will belong to the port city. Through the port city, we hope to develop the Colombo port to a state where it can be a challenge to the Mumbai, Singapore and Dubai ports.
The Sirasa Vasantudane Festival got underway at the Alpatia Public Grounds today.
The Vasantudane Festival commenced under the auspices of the Minister of Parliamentary Reforms and Mass Media Ganantha Karunatilaka. Members of the senior management at the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited, including the Group Director, Electronic Media Business Needra Veerasinghe, graced the occasion. Students from the Podala Central College, Ananda College, St. Teresa Girls School in Alpatia and the Bhattapula Mahavidyalaya showcased their talents at the Vasanta Udanaya.
මගේ කාරුණික ආරාධනය ඉතාමත්ම නිහතමානීව පිළිගෙන රටේ සෑම ප්‍රදේශයකම සිරස වසන්ත උදානය පවත්වන්න කියලා ඉල්ලීම් ගලාගෙන එද්දී සිරස මාධ්‍ය ජාලයේ විද්‍යුත් මාධ්‍ය ප්‍රධානී සමූහ අධ්‍යක්ෂිකා
When requests have come from all over the country to hold the Sirasa Vasanta Udane in those areas, I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude and respect to the Group Director, Electronic Media Business at the Sirasa Media Network, Ms. Needra Veerasinghe, for deciding to hold the Vasanta Udane in our city, Alpatia. I wish to know that what belies the success of every program undertaken by Sirasa is the team spirit and enthusiasm shown by the staff.
මේ කණ්ඩායම් හැඟීම මේ කාර්ය මණ්ඩලය තුල තිබෙන උනන්දුව කියන එක මම විශ්වාස කරනවා.
For more than 20 years as a national media network which has taken the forefront in fulfilling national responsibilities, the Sirasa Media Network through Vasanta Udane has conserved our nation's culture, heritage and traditional games for future generations.
Traditional games witnessed only during the Sinhala Tamil New Year season added colour to the event. A musical concert featuring the popular band Sunflowers got underway at the fairgrounds this evening.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.